Well, as I said, when talking to the professor, one of the things that came up, and this is not unusual that it comes up in writing, it's not just for this class, is that people don't know how to cite a chapter in a book. And again, this is a really important one to know for your field because anthologies are pretty common. Okay? An anthology is simply a collection of work by different authors that have all been put under one cover, and then somebody's edited it. That editor has done things like look at the style of it, but they've also said, I'm going to pick this article, but your article's not good enough, I'm not going to include it, or they're going to invite people to write articles for it. So your textbook with all its different chapters, that's what these editors did. They said, we want to write a book about nursing theory. Who can we invite? Who are the big names we should include? And they brought them together. So if you think of the editor as kind of a collector as well as an editor. And so an anthology is a collection of works. And so because it's a collection of works, it's a little more complicated because you're having to deal with two titles, the title of the chapter and the title of the book. And you have to deal with two entities who created it, the person who wrote or people who wrote the chapter and the person or people who edited the book. The easiest way to think about this is you can put the editor's name and you can put that title of the book, the information about the book, in the where category, not the who category. Because they didn't originate the ideas in the chapter. They didn't create the words in the chapter. The chapter author did. So that book is where the chapter is located. Okay. Where am I looking for it? Oh, I'm looking at it for this book by so-and-so. This edited collection by so-and-so. So if you think of it that way, sometimes it's easier to kind of keep track of how to do that. Oops. Okay. So, we're citing a chapter and a reference list. I want to make sure we understand a couple of terms because I see people sometimes get kind of confused by them. Reference versus citation. You didn't know what those are usually, how they're usually differentiated. Sometimes they're said they're one and the same thing, and they're slightly different. When we talk about citation, we usually talk about in the body of the essay. Okay, whether it is a footnote, I think you were talking about down here. Okay. Yeah, whether it is a footnote or parentheses, or so that you were getting there, you're almost there. But it's within the text. Okay. The reference is that page at the end, or pages at the end, depending on how complicated you get with your bibliography. And so what we're talking about is at the end. Now, it may seem backwards to start with at the end. You know why I'm doing that? Do you know what the in-text citation is for? So you can find it on the list at the end. It's just a little tab. Okay. It's a little tab that says this information, go to the reference page, look for this author name, and you're going to find all you need to know. So I always encourage students, we tend to do it backwards. We tend to write our essay and plug our citations in there first. Okay. I encourage students to actually do it the other way. Create your reference list first, okay? Because then you'll know what word you're supposed to put in that parentheses. And also, then you can also sometimes see that you're basically using the same sources over and over again, so you can just use, they're the same type of sources, so you can just use the same structure. But if you do it in the paper and then go to the end, okay, it can get really tangled up because of the purpose it serves. That's a tag mark. That says go to, basically, and it takes you to the references. So, the first thing we need to know is the who, the chapter author's last name and initial of, like fading. We brought it, worked a little weird, of author's first name and a middle name if they do give that. The when, the publication date. Okay. The title of the chapters. Now we're getting into the what. Notice it doesn't say title book. Notice under who it doesn't say editor's name. Okay. That's all in the where section. So again, think of it as a chain of units. Who, when, what, where. And in each of those links, there's certain information. Okay. And then where? Information in the book in which the chapter is located. This information includes who edited the book, what book title, where the chapter could be found in the book, the page numbers of the chapter, okay, and where book can be found, the publisher, location, and name. All of this is, I want to go find the same chapter. Where would I have to go to find it? I'd have to go to that book. That book edited by that person, published by those people.
Done.
Okay? All right, so here's an example. We've got our who, J. Wharton. When was it published? 2009. I don't put the smartboard on, or I'll be zapping this right now. The title, and do notice again, Our capitalization, just the first word, okay? We don't have any proper names in there, so we didn't have to worry about those. And then where, notice we even have a where kind of word, in. That's a location word, right? Where was I? I was in the blank blank. In T. Barkley, and then, do we know what that stands for? Yeah, it's not Edward, it's editor. What would you do if it was plural? I'm hearing little murmurs, but I didn't hear them.
EDS.
EDS, thank you. Yeah, eds, plural, okay. Now, Holistic Approaches to Medicine is a book title, and in that book, those pages are where we find that chapter. And where we find that book is from this publisher who published it in New York. So you move from who to when to what to where. And that's the same progression no matter what kind of source you're doing, okay? Whether it's a chapter or whether it's a film.
Is there ever a circumstance where the chapter, what's in the chapter is written at a different time than the book is published?
Yeah, actually older sources that they brought in and reprinted.
So what
Yes.
date do you put in that
You
circumstance?
still do the book.
Edit,
Okay.
okay.
Because what you're basically saying, and again, this is one of those ways that citation serves you not just as in I'm being honest, but you're also saying they may have goofed. When they printed it, maybe they left out a line. When they reprinted it, maybe they introduced some error. And so you want to make sure that they're looking at this one's rendition of that chapter as opposed to some other book's rendition of that chapter. That's why the location's so important. You're saying, not my fault, they did it. Okay, so citation isn't just there to say I'm honest. It's there for a lot of other reasons. It makes you credible, not just in being honest, but credible in terms of this is where you can find the same information. I'm sharing it with you scholar to scholar. Okay, it makes you part of the conversation, and it also in some ways deflects blame. Okay, so you're not just giving credit, you're deflecting blame.